Hello friends, I hope you all are doing well. I am Vaishnavi Mahajan. Today in this video, we will going to discuss how we can easily create our first Spring Boot application using Maven build tool and expose a defined method as an API to Postman. So what we are going to do? First, we have to create a Java Spring Boot application using Eclipse. Then we have to define a method with two numeric parameters and do subtraction of those parameters and give output. Then expose this method as an API. Then test using Postman. So first we have to create a Spring Boot application using Eclipse. Then define a method with two numeric parameters and do subtraction of those parameters and give output. Then expose this method as an API. So what is an API? API is an application programming interface. Means set of rules which allows programs to communicate with each other. APIs in Spring Boot are typically RESTful services that communicate over the HTTP. So first we have to discuss about the Spring Boot architecture. Spring Boot architecture is a framework which is built on top of Spring. It is designed to simplify the creation of Java-based web applications and services. It uses layered architecture. Tree architecture is widely used to develop a Spring application. So we will see diagram here. This is a Spring Boot application architecture. It includes three-tier architecture. Means there are three layers here: controller layer, service layer, and DAO layer. Controller layer is an entry point for project which handles the web requests. We can call it as an API layer because we basically create Spring MVC controller and we keep all REST APIs in controller class. The next is a service layer. We keep all our business logic here. In DAO or repository layer, we keep all database related logic here. It is also known as persistent logic also. In DAO layer, which is responsible to communicate with database. We use Postman as a client to test these REST APIs. And DTOs are the data transfer object. It is used to transfer data between server and client. We use JSON as a media or as a message or data exchange format between client and server. For this, we need three-tier architecture, includes controller, service, and DAO layer. We need setup to build our first Spring Boot application. First, we have to install STS IDE, that is Eclipse. Then we have to install Maven, which is a build tool. Then Postman for testing purpose. So our motto is to create standalone Java Spring Boot application and expose method of Java application as an API and test it using Postman. So first we use start.spring.io to create our first Spring Boot application. This is a site startspring.io. Here we have to do some configuration. So project we have to create it is Maven. Maven used for building tool, which manages all the dependencies. Language use is Java. Spring Boot version 3.3.3. It is a stable version, and we have to give some artifact or name of project. Demo1. Packaging used is jar. So there are many jar files which we have to manage all these. So Maven build tool is used to manage all the jar dependencies. Spring Boot will give a lot of ready-made code. This code converts our Java application into web application. This ready-made code would be available as a jar files because we use packaging structure as a jar. There are so many jar files. So for managing these jar files, we used Maven tool. Here we have choose Maven, which manages all these jar dependencies for us. So we have to add dependencies, that is Spring Web. We have selected Spring Web, which gives us Apache Tomcat as a default embedded container. Means it is a by default server given to us using Spring. Using this, many dependencies are added by default. So generate, it will create basic project. Maven used the details we have added here to build our first Spring Boot application. Then steps for building our first Spring Boot application is first use IDE, Eclipse, then load the zip into IDE, then organize code into some folder, copy paste that zip into this folder and extract this. Then load the zip into IDE. Another word is here. Import the zip into IDE and then run our application. So we have to follow these steps. First we use IDE, then we copy paste that file. We copy this file and we have created one folder on the desktop as name demo. We copy paste that file here, extract this file, then we have to import this zip file into our IDE. So first import projects as a Maven. Existing Maven project, we have to choose root directory as our file path. Select folder, finish. So this is our first Spring Boot application is created. It is loading. So pom.xml is a heart of our Spring Boot application where all configuration which we did in start.spring.io is available inside the pom.xml. This is the pom.xml. Here we have given name as a artifact ID, version, snapshot version. This is the version we have choose for Spring. In this latest version, we don't have to use HTTPS and save file to run any web application. One server is required. So Apache Tomcat server is provided by default with all the dependencies that we added through Spring Web. So our basic code for Spring Boot application is ready. So we have to run this project, and to run this project we have to use some Maven commands. So there are three commands used basically. Clean. First we have to clean the project. Right click on project, run as Maven build. Goals. We have to add comment here. Clean is to refresh the three things that created in a previous. So run. It is loading. Build success. Then we have to do install. Install run as Maven build. Install command is to download our dependent jar files and keep it in a local machine. So run. All the jar files are downloaded here. To run now, to run our Spring Boot application, we have to right click, run as Maven build, then Spring Boot run. Run. So our application is running. See here, Tomcat is a default server available by Spring Boot. Tomcat started on port 8080. Whenever we run any service, it runs on a port. So Spring Boot application runs on a Tomcat server, which occupies 8080 port by default. To access this server, we have to choose some endpoints, that is URL http colon slash double slash localhost is a server ID, server name of our local machine. Localhost colon 8080. Then we have to go to browser to test this. Localhost 8080. White label error page means something is running, but error is seen here. If we terminate our application using this, means kill the process. If we kill the process, then check again. It shows this site can't be reached. Means we are not able to access the service because nothing is running on port 8080. Means we have, if we terminate the process, nothing is running on this port 8080. So we can't able to reach this site. Again, if we started the project, right click run as Maven build. We can use two commands with space separator as clean Spring Boot run. We have started our server once again on 8080 port. Now, if we access this port, we have reached to this site. If you want some output, then we have to add some content like static files. Uh, Inside static folder, we have to add HTML file, CSS file. So we create one HTML file, give some name index.html, finish. Any content, if we write here, is display on the browser. Hello, this is our first demo. Save, again run file. First we have to stop the server and then again relaunch the server. Maven build clean Spring Boot and run. Content we written here is display on browser. Our application is started on Tomcat's 8080 port. When we access it from browser, this is our output that we written in HTML file. Now our motto is to create our Spring Boot application or one question. So first we define method with numeric parameter and do subtraction of those parameters and give output. Then we want to test this method. For that we need to expose this method as an API. So we create one package as a controller. We have to use three-tier architecture. For that we need to create one package. We do packaging for separation of concern. We create one controller package. Again we create one DTO package. We create package. This is our by default method in which main method is here. So our Spring Boot application started from this point. So first we write one class name subtract. A subtraction class. Finish. Inside this we have to write one logic for subtraction. Add one method subtract. We have to give two parameters num1. Take one variable for output. Num1 minus num2. And print output. We have to add one return statement. So this is our subtract method. We have to expose this method as an API. So first Java class that we created, we want to make controller of Spring Boot application. Then add this subtract method expose as an API, so we can invoke it from browser. For invocation, we have to export it as a API. So for that, we use ChatGPT. We use this ready-made code for building our application. So this is our Java class. We written there. When we write question, that right below Java class having subtraction method, Then we want it as a Spring Boot controller. So give code for this. So this is a DTO, subtract request DTO. This is a Spring Boot controller. We write subtract method like this. We use some annotations for this. We copy this controller code and paste it here. Save. Then next DTO class. Copy this code and paste it here. Create one DTO class. Save. Save this controller class also. We remove these unused imports. Control Shift O is used for automatically importing the class. Save this. Then once our Spring Boot application is ready, then we have to use this endpoint through Postman to call this method, subtract method. So this is our ready-made code is ready. So we first stop the server, then running it from here. Right click, run as Maven build. First clean our project, then run. So our application is running. Tomcat started on port 8080. Now we check here. Then run from browser. The code is running. This is our HTML content. Now we want to test it from post 1. We have to install Postman. First, we have to create one collection. Create new collection, blank collection. Give name as Demo1. Here our collection is created. Demo1. We have to add request. Add request. These are some HTTP methods. So we use post method. We use this endpoint. This is HTTP localhost, means from our local machine. 8080 is a port on which our Tomcat server is running. Slash API is a URL of our controller. API slash v1 subtract means this method is automatically called from here. So for post method, go to body, raw. We use data exchange format as a JSON. Then send. Our output is here. Also, in our this output is shown here. This is our HTML output, and in Postman, this is our output. If you want to print some on something on console, it is also shown. We print something, so we can see on. If we run it again, then we see it's on three place our output is shown on console, on browser, and on Postman. Thus, the Postman is used for testing tool. Again, if we send the request, our output is shown here, and this HTML content also shown here, and on console, Tomcat server is running on port 8080. If you want to change the port, then we have to do some configurations in application.properties as server.port. Then we have to enter on which port we have to start our server. Then again clean and run the project. First stop the server and then do this. run as Maven build clean Spring Boot run. So Tomcat is started on 808082 port. If we access the port 8080, this site can't be reached. To access port 8082, this is our output. Thus, we can change our port. If we send request to 8080 port, could not send the request. Means the port we are trying to access is not reachable. So we have to give 8082 port. If we send the request, our output is shown here. So if we change anything every time, we need to restart the server again and again. So solution for this is to add DevTool dependencies so that changes we made will automatically reflected here. So we want to add some dependencies, search Maven DevTool dependency. Go to mvnrepository.com. Here Spring Boot DevTools. We have to choose version, latest version, then Maven, copy this dependency and paste it in a form.xml where all the configurations are done. In the dependency, we have to paste this. No need to give version. If we give it, then no problem. So thus Spring DevTool dependency is added here. After adding this dependency, first time we have to restart the server. Later, no need to restart the server again and again. Clean Spring Boot run. Server is started. It is shown here. If we send the request, it will work. We added this DevTool dependency so that we can do, if we do any changes, it will automatically reflected. No need to restart the server again and again. If we do any changes in HTML file, save. No need to restart the server. Changes are automatically reflected here. Thus, our first string tool application is created.